Well, we're going to end, the African stories coming back to Nigeria. We're looking at some basic items. I know we've talked a lot about inflation, but when we look at what's going on with the prices, want to drill down on it. SBM Intelligence did take some time to look at that. So you see there on the board, some of those items you cannot do without, I believe. I mean, who can do without rice or bread in a week, in a day, you know? But let's talk to those who carried out this research. SBM Intelligence, the head of research joined us, Ekemesi Effiong. We had to drag him, Ekemesi, we had to drag him out of a meeting he was attending to come and discuss this. So everybody knows there's inflation.
Indeed.
But it's not just Nigeria.
Absolutely.
But anyways, so let's see your findings. So we see that foreign rice. For what period did you do your findings for?
From the beginning of the first quarter of last year, 2023, to the end of the first quarter of this year.
Okay, so first quarter of 2023. So this is year on year.
This is year on year.
No, you shouldn't have done that. That's going to be scary. That's why we have such...
It's just a year.
It's just... But I mean, have prices tapered? We see that the bag of rice has reduced a bit, at least, I think for about a month now. I know with the depreciation in the order balancing of the value of the Naira, I don't know if, you know, it's come back again. So this is from first quarter of 2023 to the first quarter of 2024.
Indeed.
We saw foreign rice. This is obviously the Forex impact, if it's foreign rice.
Oh yes, that's definitely Forex. I mean, you also see that manifest a bit with, you know, tin, tomatoes and pasta, right? Because they are key inputs into these products, right? Which are imported, of course. And you're absolutely right. Inflation is somewhat moderating. Our outlook is that, you know, there would be some growth, but it would be at a slower pace. But these are some scary numbers.
Yes, it is. I mean, how can we have... You're heading to 100% here. No wonder food inflation is above 40%. Now, I wonder what it will be for April. Because April, we also had some shockers coming our way. Tariff, the Naira, of course, was there. So I just wonder if you look at even month on month, from March to April, I'm sure we'll have some shocking numbers also. Yeah,
there will definitely be some interesting numbers, right? I mean, even in prices of non-basic items, for example, some of the streaming platforms, right, they've adjusted their, the plans for some of their subscriptions, right? So, you know, with respect
we're still fighting against that.
I mean, you know, so with respect to basic items, but also with some of the other non-essentials, right, you're still seeing there's still a healthy inflationary clip, right, that is being manifesting in, you know, in some of those market segments. Right, but again, this is mostly the Naira. This is obviously also some of the more structural issues around infrastructure, around fiscal policy, not, you know, necessarily pulling its weight as much as monetary policy has done a lot of the heavy lifting. Fiscal policy has been lagging somewhat, and you're seeing that, you know. I
mean, look at petrol, 160, yes. And I think it's more than this now, because in Lagos, for instance, in the last couple of days, people have been buying. I know a colleague who bought petrol for 750 Naira
precisely
for a liter. So I hope it's very temporal, please.
Yeah. We absolutely hope so too. But also, interestingly, this is a non-scarcity increase. So the point is, even with the availability of, yes, even with the availability of petrol products, that's a significant number. Obviously, the fact that the subsidy was announced as removed, and you know, the deregulation that we're seeing in the market.
Used to it by now. But you know, when we talk about transport, commercial, public transport, I think a lot of it is self-inflicted, because in the evenings when you see people coming back from work, there's a rush and all of that, especially at a time like this when the filling stations have long queues. It's like the transport operators purposely increase prices just to make the most, you know, and they're inflicting a lot of damage on Nigerians.
Well, I don't know if that behavior alone will account for a more than 70% rise in it. What's quite interesting for me with respect to public transport, right, is when you juxtapose that with petrol, which is a major input into that. This should probably be a slightly scarier number, considering, right, the rise in petrol prices, right? So, you know, obviously, I know there are some states, Lagos included, that said they will subsidize aspects of public transport. The Blue Line, the fares are still subsidized now. So all of that obviously has meant that inflationary growth there has somewhat tapered off or moderated.
Does the CNG buses. We're probably CNG buses. And I know last time I went to Ogun State, I did see some buses that were tagged CNG. Has it contributed to the fact that we don't have up to this level of increase?
Well, I mean, the CMG buses are still coming, online, right? That pipeline is still growing, right? So they are not a significant segment. Well, hopefully, right? Yeah, so they are not a significant part of the transport mix yet.
So they don't have an input.
So they don't have a significant
But we do have like the red line, the blue line of Lagos State, and also the subsidy that the Lagos State government, I think some other states also joined to give a bit of subsidy on transport, even though it was for a period of time.
Precisely, right. And that's why you've seen that not be as scary, right, as petrol. You're absolutely correct.
Now, another interesting one is the entertainment for me.
My favorite.
Entertainment. We're fighting it, but I mean, it's obvious. Now we have the telecommunications guys also saying that they need to hike. I know that's not part of entertainment.
I mean, no, that's the telecoms part. It's not part of entertainment. That's telecoms, right? But what you've actually seen, and this is interesting, especially when you square it with, the multi-choice story, what the FCCPC is trying to do, right, with multi-choice. Those prices have already been increasing. As a matter of fact,
they increased even before this fight we're having.
Do you know some
providers? It was posted on the 1st of May. Yeah,
precisely, right. But some providers have increased. StarTimes, I'm looking at you. Some providers have increased twice during our coverage period, right? Once in Q3 of last year and then in January, right, of this year, right. This is actually moderated by the fact that the adjustment in prices for DSTV bouquets, right, has been much less. It's lagged all of its other cable TV competitors, right. That's why this increase, right, is it's in the high tens as against probably the high 20s or the high 30s.
So when they increase without informing consumers, isn't that trampling on the consumers' rights?
I mean, the interesting thing about multi-choice right now is that the bouquet prices in Nigeria lag, right, those of DSTV, bouquets, right, in Kenya and in South Africa,
even
right?
In South Africa.
Yeah, exactly. And by a significant, right, amount, right? So when you square that with where we're at right now, and the fact that in multi-choice case, they even offered, some notice, right, to that expect, they've sort of tried to manage the consumer expectation around increased prices within that same period. The prices, most beer prices have increased, right? Have been increased 3 times, right? The prices of essentials, we've seen petrol, you're seeing noodles, we've seen pasta, you've seen bread, right? Have significantly increased. The question then becomes for a non-essential commodity such as entertainment, which, to be very honest, if you watch Channels TV, you're fine. You can skip on your Netflix, you can skip on your DSTV. Why is that the political hot potato is the question.
So are you saying, because we had this argument in the office, are you saying, well, it's not a necessity, it's by choice. Let them do what they want to do. You choose. I mean, if you want to live a luxurious life, you pay for it, or else you just watch the local stations.
You're not going to put me on trouble, right, on international television. I would just say, you've answered your question. But the interesting thing, I neglected to highlight it. The interesting thing is the prices for the cheapest bouquets, right? Whether it's DSTV or StarTimes, those have barely moved, right? So there's a lot of market segmentation with respect to entertainment, which offers some form of consumer freedom in terms of choice. So you could downgrade, right? You don't have to completely skimp on it.
You don't have to, like we say, you pay for it if you want a luxury life. Now for this, I think the health conscious individuals will be good for them. I mean, you want to take beer, it's not very healthy. You want sugar, we're looking for sugar tax anyway. So this is going to reduce the health risk that some Nigerians will face.
Well, I mean, there is the health part of the conversation, but you also know some of the biggest, listed entities in the country are in these market segments, right? And they are seeing
taxes are being threatened. So, and the breweries did say they're going to close. Nigerian breweries will close 2 of their plants.
Precisely.
That's minus some taxes.
Yes, that's minus some taxes. I actually found interesting, right? And the Nigerian brewery CEO discussing on his earnings call, saying that Goldberg, which is their lowest price, it's sort of their low premium market proposition, right? Ordinarily in higher inflationary times, people skip on things like Star and they go to things like Goldberg. People are skipping on Goldberg.
Are they going to the premium?
Well, the question is people who have downgraded from more premium categories, right, to things like Goldberg may probably not be drinking as much as they would. So it might be an everyday after work or 3-4 days a week downgraded to maybe just the weekends right now, and that's putting pressure obviously on their revenue top line.
And I was thinking people drink away their sorrows.
Yeah, but if it's expensive to drink away your sorrows, you might as well just cry it away or something. That's probably.
All right, Kenneth, thank you so much for taking time out from your meeting to join us.
Absolute
really
pleasure.
do appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Pleasure.